Hey everyone, Tim here from SnapAttack. Let's dig into this week's Threat Snapshot. So earlier this week, Mandiant, which is now part of Google Cloud, released their M-Trends report for 2023. And I always love to take a look at these reports because, again, especially for a large organization like Mandiant, doing so many incident response activities, they really have a global perspective and they see what threats and threat actors are doing. And these reports are really great for, just getting a pulse on what sort of activities have been going on in the last year. So have the page up here. Anyone can go ahead, entering a little bit of information, and you can download a copy of the report. Would also like to say that you can sign up for a free Mandiant Threat Intelligence report, or free access to their Mandiant Threat Intelligence portal by signing up with this too. So definitely worth the time. I'm going to take a look here, and we're going to be doing some purple teaming today, hence the purple shirt, and trying to operationalize this threat report. So like all good things, 42 is the answer, so we're going to jump about halfway through this report, and this is going to be talking about the top threat techniques. So they have some really interesting insights here about the most common MITRE attack techniques that they've seen. Again, they start to break things down, so I can see, command and scripting interpreter surprise is seen in about 50% of their attack campaigns. Usually, again, a lot of the problems that we see in these reports is there are very generic behaviors, and a lot of, analysts and engineers struggle with how do I actually, operationalize my defenses and take the knowledge and intelligence in a report like this and turn this into something that's actionable. So that's absolutely what we're going to walk through here today, is how we can go about doing that process. So again, these reports do a really good job of breaking things down by techniques. Again, this may be worth taking a look at your organization and seeing, what kind of detections, what kind of coverage do I have for some of these techniques? Is this something that I have, an alertable threshold? Is this something where I have analysts that are doing threat hunting? Just to really make sure that you're prepared, against threats like this, because these are the common techniques that they're seeing. There's a lot of open source tools that are great here, so you can run, Atomic Red Team, you can emulate specific techniques. I always like to take it a little bit further, and they have some additional malware definitions here that they're following through. Because a lot of times you're going to have a very generic technique, but a malware, an example, piece of malware is going to do something a little bit different than those very general techniques. So, when you have that availability to be specific, that's something that we want to do. So, talking here at the very bottom, we have this tank trap malware. So this is a PowerShell utility that's going to use group policy to spread a wiper. And it's been observed in campaigns like, NEARMISS, SDelete, Party Ticket, and Caddy Wiper. So NEARMISS is something that we keyed in on, and that's the demo that we're going to use here for this threat snapshot today. This is something that is in both the SnapAttack platform as well as, Mandiant's platform and the Mandiant Security Validation product. So one of the things that we do with our partnership with Mandiant is we run all of the Mandiant Security Validation modules in SnapAttack, and we can see exactly what they are doing here. So this action within MSV is going to emulate part of that NEARMISS campaign. Again, this is Hermetic Wiper that was seen in the Russia-Ukraine attacks. And what this is doing is it's disabling Crashdumps to, again, inhibit analysis. Since that malware, that wiper, is going to wipe the master boot record and render the computer inoperable, disabling Crashdumps means that if there is like a blue screen of death or some other information, that hopefully that wiper and that malware would not actually be logged in that Crashdump, making it harder for companies like Mandiant to do some forensic analysis. So this is obviously a behavior that's exhibited. I can't think of a legitimate reason why a user would want to disable Crashdumps on their system. So again, this could be something that could be turned into alert. We do have this again in SnapAttack, and again we have our recommended detections and things, but let's actually take a look here at what this MSV module is doing. So I'm going to kind of hop ahead a little bit here. We're going to see an emulated terminal with all the attacks and commands that they're running kind of in real time here. So we're going to see that they are going to use PowerShell, and they are going to set the registry key here for that crash control to disable Crashdumps. We can see the output. And again, with SnapAttack, we're constantly running these attacks in our threat library against all of our detections in our detection library. So I've already kind of filtered this to what's happening around our malicious event. So this is where we're setting that Crashdump, that registry key. So we have a hunting query here for PowerShell 4104, but more specifically, we have this recommended detection for crash control, Crashdump disabled. So, this is something that we could very easily deploy and make sure that we're able to cover this sort of threat. Again, the beauty with MSV and the beauty with being able to take these attacks, obviously we did this validation in SnapAttack, but really a better option is what can we measure within our organization. So if you are a Mandiant customer, you do have MSV, you can go over to Mandiant Advantage, you can take this action, this NEARMISS disabled Crashdump, and I can actually run this threat. Hit the play button, I can specify which host I want to run this on, and configure that. And again, we have those links in SnapAttack here. So for this NEARMISS disabled Crashdump, I can actually launch the attack simulation through here and say, yes, I would like to pivot over to MSV and run that attack. So really powerful here, being able to, again, emulate that threat in your environment. And again, if I'm thinking about this from a purple team perspective, I would like to, before we do any, defensive work, see what my capabilities are. Is this something that antivirus is going to, prevent, or maybe my EDR is going to prevent or detect, or is this event going to be logged to my SIM? So if the answer to those is no, there's going to potentially be some engineering work, making sure that you have those log sources enabled in forwarding, or maybe those are there and you just need to, write or deploy detection. So being able to run that first is definitely a valuable piece. Next piece is going to be closing those gaps. So like we said, we do have this recommended detection for this crash control, Crashdump disabled. So this is a Sigma community rule here, so we can see that. And again, with these Sigma community rules and being Sigma, we can also take these and compile these to different tools. So let's say I am using Chronicle and I want to do an EDR search. So they have a little different syntax between the search and the rule. So again, with SnapAttack, we can translate this detection, which again, we validated on that session, over to Chronicle. I can run this here as a UDM search, and we can see this user, Bob, on our dev victim machine. We can see this is going to work. So again, if I didn't have this defense enabled, I could confidently, with one click, deploy this as a Chronicle search or Chronicle rule, and then we can have that defense enabled. So what if we were back to this threat and we were looking at this attack? And again, we saw this over here where we have this PowerShell property. We have this option to create a detection, which again is great if we didn't happen to have a recommended detection. And just want to show how easy that process is. So I can go ahead, I can click this create detection. That's going to bring us over to our detection builder, kind of like our analytic IDE as we call it. So we can already see that this has pre-populated some of the fields. So we know this is a Windows PowerShell log. We know this is event ID 4104. So this is the script block log. So we can take a look and see what are some of these interesting properties. So maybe based on this log, I am looking at the script block text. So I can click that and bring that over to my detection. And then maybe I want to, look for this exact item. Maybe I want to see some different components. So I know this is going to contain set item property, and I know this is going to contain, this piece here, this system control set. So I'm expecting it to show those, and I need the string Crashdump enabled. And you can see here in real time as we are building this query here, we can see what's being highlighted. We can see, these fields that are working. We could, again, translate these to other detections. Again, if I felt really confident about this detection, I could add some additional information here. So give it a title, give it a description, map it to MITRE ATT&CK, specific threat actors, software vulnerabilities that this is also related to. And I could publish this into SnapAttack. So that detection is then going to run live against all of the threats in our threat library. And we can see if that's going to validate. So really easy to build detections with SnapAttack. And the last kind of piece here is how do we go about operationalizing this? Obviously, we have the threats, we have the detections. We have this other thing in SnapAttack that we are calling collections, and it's a way to group different threats, different intelligence, different detections around a category. We also, just in this latest release, have put out some additional, we call them, landing page collections. So it's around very specific, actors, software vulnerabilities, CVEs, all of those sort of things. So I can go over to collections. I can look for what knowledge we have on threat actors, and I can see, oh, hey, we've got APT, 38. So we've got some intelligence, we've got detections around here, and I could go ahead and I can, operationalize. I can, deploy those detections. I can run attack simulations against those. This here is a very, manually curated collection around the mTrends report. So we were able to go through the report, analyze that, find different threats like HiveLocker, QuackBot, that NEARMISS example. There's some Metasploit, there's Lockbit. Again, a lot of these are also Mandiant Security Validation modules that they have. So the beauty of this is that we can go ahead, we can take these threats, and with SnapAttack, we can launch an attack simulation. So when I click this button, again, I've got a victim machine, I've got an agent running. I can actually go ahead and I can create a campaign around this or an attack plan. So I'm going to call that a purple team exercise. I can launch that activity. Again, I can also take detections, and I can deploy these detections individually or in bulk, or I can hunt for those detections. Makes it very easy to, again, take action on these sort of things. And really the important piece of this for, a purple team exercise is being able to report on this. So we have this ability to document that process. So when I launched that attack simulation, and I did that earlier this morning, it actually ran, some of those attacks on the host here. So we can see I ran a subset of that. We executed 12 attacks. We can see some of the outcomes that we have. So again, we had this hooked up to Google Chronicle. So we see what was detected, what was logged, what we didn't have any action on, which of our detections that we have are now validated because, again, we've run that attack simulation and we have the detection that was actually triggered in our production chronicle. We can see confidence and severity of those detections, and we can go ahead and we can record those results. So, that near miss disable crash dump, we have that earlier. I can go through and this one needs review. So as part of that documentation, I can say that this is detected. I can say it is the crash dump detection that actually did that. And this is in Google Chronicle that was actually there. So I can go ahead, I can save that. That's going to go ahead, that's going to update my report to make sure that that is being tracked in here. And again, the beauty of all of this is that I have all of this exercise documented here in this attack plan. And I can also go ahead and I can download and generate a PDF report, either the detailed one for your technical analysts, or I can get an executive summary from my boss. And I can go ahead and I can see, okay, look, this is all of the stuff that we have here. These are the outcomes. And I can put that on a shelf and, again, memorialize that exercise here. So that's just our snapshot for this week. Again, really wanted to show you how you can take a report like the mTrends 2023 report and operationalize that in your environment through purple teaming. If you're out at RSAC next week, we hope to see you there. And in the meantime, like, subscribe, comment, and we'll see you next week.